Now, I can't deny my fascination with UFO Twitter, okay? But it's interesting because if you follow it long enough, you realize it works in circles. And what that means is someone discovers some pictures or a short video, they post it, then everyone replies for about 24 hours saying, wow, this looks real to me. Everyone's an expert, right? Everyone's like, yeah, I'm a CGI expert and I think this looks really real to me. So everyone kind of loses their mind for 24 hours. Then someone actually puts it into Google, pretty quickly realizes that it's not real, posts it underneath. But at this point, it's too late, right? Everyone, all the believers already, they left the station hours ago and they're running with it. They're totally believing it. And a post like this occurred earlier today morning. Twitter's currently obsessed with this post by Rafos Network. And it's titled, anyone, or that's the tweet, it's not titled, but that's what he writes. Anyone know where these photographs came from? Chain of custody, location where they were taken, UFO Twitter, hashtag, and so on. And he links a bunch of pictures in a thread. Let's take a look at these pictures. So we can see a bunch of people who, I don't know, who I would not trust with an alien spaceship just from looking at them. Personal opinion. Okay, that's just me. Looking at what seems to be a UFO, a silverish spherical. It's not really spherical, right? It is a kind of elongated disc. I don't know how to describe the shape. You can see it yourself. There are also pictures like this that show an alleged extraterrestrial on, I don't know, what looks to be like a surgical table or something like this. There's a close-up of the hands of that extraterrestrial, right? It has 3 fingers. OMG, it's absolutely wild. There's a bunch more pictures of these researchers, alleged researchers, looking at this alien spacecraft, what is alleged to be an alien spacecraft. And there's a whole bunch of images, okay? It's a little thread. You see it here. I'm just going to flick through them real quick so you guys get an idea. For some reason, someone always photographed the screen. They don't really take images of the sphere itself. It always happens on the screen. Here's another one. Apparently just showing the laboratory, a few lab tools or whatever the instruments. I don't work in labs. I don't know much about science. But as I was looking through these images, some of them made me skeptical, okay? Specifically this one. This doesn't look right. It doesn't look real. What you see over here seems to be imposed on it, the way it looks. You know, I work in CGI as well. There you go. You know, I'm a CGI expert, guys. But looking at this looks like CGI to me. This looks like some odd CGI-generated reflection, not like a real material. But then again, you could say, bro, you don't know how alien materials look, okay? They may reflect the light slightly different than our materials. So this might as well be alien. So I didn't know, but I'm just saying, as I was looking through this earlier today, this image struck me specifically. Where I was like, that's not this. The silverish finish of all this stuff doesn't look right to me. Something wasn't sit right with me. However, the initial reactions, as you can expect them and as I described them, the circle has begun. We're early in the circle right now, the one that I described earlier. So people are like, whoa, this seems very realistic and consistent. Not AI for sure. And amazing details. Okay, this looks legitimate to me. Okay, guys, this looks legitimate. So then he says, well, the 2 EBE autopsy photos are fake. Okay, so he corrects that there, EBE meaning the alien, okay, they are fake. The rest we are uncertain about. Not AI, but Photoshop, okay? Can we really know? And I agree with the AI part, okay? It doesn't look AI generated. I mean, you probably could generate stuff like this with AI, but I don't know, it looks more Photoshop to me as well. But at this point, I wasn't sure. People reply and say, well, I'm not convinced this is Photoshop. I don't see any signs of it. For context, I'm a professional 3D artist and work with Photoshop daily, because that's what professional 3D artists do. I mean, okay, fair enough. They do use Photoshop, but there's a little bit of it made me smile, that comment, okay? But here we have a professional Photoshop 3D expert artist who looks at this image and says, that looks pretty real to me. You know, I don't know if this is Photoshop or 3D. It's like, what do you use? Like Bryce 3D? What are you working with, sir? Anyway, sweet baby Jeebus, writes someone else. Nice find. Even the fingernails are what had been described. Is that a thumb? That's the Bell UFO shape from Kecksburg. And I love this as well, how they always jump to the conclusion and think like, that looks just like the Calvine UFO or the one they found in Roswell. And everyone loses their mind and starts to draw these irrational connections where they're like, that's the thing I've seen as well. This is also another very popular comment under these types of threads where people are like, yeah, you know, in 1994 over Miami, I saw the same thing. It's like, I love it. You gotta love the UFO believers. However, there's also a bunch of other people who are more skeptical than that, saying, you know, it's AI generated, could be a film set, looks like bad CGI, which I agree with, okay, like the dome, the bell-shaped UFO. I guess that's the best way to describe it. Like, it looks bell-shaped. I didn't get that earlier. But a lot of people say, well, it's AI, you know, it's your mom's house. Okay. Anyway, the guy who originally posted it actually came forward and kind of corrected it himself. And he said, well, I found more. The source of these images is Phillipe Kling David from Brazil. They originally were posted in his blog in 2008. He has long flip-flopped between them being legitimate and a fraud. Here's a bunch more images, okay, where they show the recovery of some kind of mysterious craft. I mean, dude, it doesn't even match, okay? Like, this is not even a good composite, but here they are recovering the bell-shaped UFO that we're seeing in the other images, allegedly. We think that some of these images are fake, he continues, in particular the images of the body. However, the other images may be actual images of a crash retrieval and subsequent exploitation at a lab somewhere. Not sure. These images are fake, though. As noted by others, this is the photoshopped autopsy photo of a woman. Right. Wait, that doesn't look like a woman at all. So you got to do a little bit digging. Up here, he mentions the name Phillipe Kling David, and I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. I hope I do. And if you do some digging, you find a blog post. This is written by exactly the guy, Phillipe Kling David. I have to assume that's the same guy. And if you look him up a little bit more, you find his Instagram page, for example, where he, you know, shows some alien-related stuff. An alien pillow. I don't know if I can buy this here. But mainly, beyond a lot of attractive girls that he seems to be posting, and muscly men as well. Some UFOs in there. But he seems to be a CGI artist, okay? He posts stuff like this, for example, dragon, ZBrush, modeling. And I mean, bro is skilled, okay? If you've done this, you know how to 3D model, you know how ZBrush works. Or ZBrush, whatever. He also posts some of the original images we just looked at on his own Instagram. So he's the guy, okay? He's also modeled aliens, okay? So he's a 3D artist. He models stuff and he's talented, okay? It's another page. This is an ArtStation page. I have to assume that's him as well. The name matches. So there's a bunch of more work here. A bunch of muscly dudes. Less alien stuff on here, but lots of fantasy creatures. And the dude is clearly a talented modeler. Some UFO stuff here as well. However, in this blog post, he actually explains how he created this and the story behind it. And it's really, really interesting, okay? It is beautiful. So he, unfortunately, this is translated from Portuguese, okay? So Google Translate does a mediocre job of translating it in a coherent way, but it somewhat makes sense. So I want to read like some little parts of it to you guys because it's really fascinating. So he starts off by talking about one of his friends called Celso, I believe. Celso says he's also an artist. They're both artists, and he moans about how life of artists kind of suck because you create so much stuff, you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, and you never get much back. But then he continues to talk about the story of an MIB report, and I can only guess that MIB here doesn't mean Man in Black, as you would maybe assume, but he says created more than 10 years ago, back in 2008, when this blog was only 2 years old. Relato came about when I created some illustrations of a dead alien and wanted to show them to my friend Thiago. He was working with me at the National Institute of Technology at the time, where I was a guest researcher at the CMU's Industrial Division. I couldn't find my cell phone's data cable, and since I was running late, I took a picture of the screen. To my surprise, the result was very realistic, more so than the pure image I had taken. My friend linked the photo, and that's when the idea of creating a little story with them came to me. So he's basically saying, if I understand correctly, probably he took this image of an alien model that he took, right? He was working at this institute as a guest researcher, took this image of his model on a screen, and he was shocked himself. He was like, bro, that looks way more realistic than the model itself, right? The filter of it being on screen just adds a bit more distortion. It removes some of the details and makes it way more credible. So they, being artists, right? That's what artists do. They create stories. So he's like, you know, let's make something of that. Entitled The Story of an MIB, the story told in the form of letters to misadventures of a man who hired work in a restricted secret group Brazil specialized in recruiting and attempting to obtain at any cost any type of object or even biological entities of alien origin. Okay, so obviously the grammar is scrambled, but you get the idea. They created this story a little bit like the Bob Lazar story, right? So people working this restricted secret Brazilian facility, they try to obtain, understand, back engineer these kinds of alien beings and their spacecraft. The work of a real Brazilian MIB was limited to threatening people, buying silence, erasing certain more inconvenient people. So it seems to be link to some letters they wrote. They built this whole story around it. I can't find the letters. I don't know where they are. I couldn't read them anyway, right? It's all in Portuguese. But they created this whole narrative structure around these images. He then continues to say that these Brazilian MIBs, okay, and I'm starting to think that MIBs actually means not men in black, but like secret people, secret shady government organization, because he says these MIBs simply kidnap an alien biological entity, let's call it EBE, and hide this living alien in a farm. That's where his blog comes into the story. So again, he's going into quite a lot of background in this narrative structure. But this is where it gets interesting. He says that he created these NPC characters, right? So he published these images, not only on his blog, they circulated around, but part of this story, he created these NPC characters, which was presumably himself and maybe his friends, and they're in the story and they attacked his blog. They created websites to defame him. And these friends had other friends. And I created relationships with them, and these characters interacted with the readers, attacking my blog. So if I presume, again, this is a bad translation, but I think the way I read it is like people would be commenting on the story. He created these fake characters that would question the authenticity of it. And they would be interacting with the comments and be like, no, this is all fake. So he really built this quite complex narrative around the pictures, including characters that defame him and stuff. I think this is absolutely brilliant. Taking the entire website offline for 2 weeks, etc. It was crazy. Soon, parallel conspiracies would emerge with people investigating certain allegations in depth. Again, I don't know if this is 100% correct. I'm trying to read into what he's saying here from this bad Google translation, but like at some point he's saying it took a life on its own, right? It became bigger than a thing. So then we get to this paragraph. This is my favorite. Auntie Thinks It's Real is the title. Now, 14 years after creating this story, which I always said was fiction, okay, he always made it clear. So if you would research it, obviously, if you just read the story, it might sound real, but if you type it in, you type in the author, you find blogs like this. I mean, it took me 2 minutes to find this, okay? It's not hard to find. So he always said it's fiction. 14 years later, shortly after, this is from 2022, by the way, this post, a new character appears. The famous ufologist, Linda Moulton Howe. And I'm sure you're familiar with her. She's a ufologist, a famous ufologist. She was very close to the cattle mutilation stories and all that. That was her cup of tea. She was really like associated with that strongly. But down here it says, Linda came out with the bombshell news on her live stream saying that a source she has at the Wright Patterson military base has sent her these images of the autopsy of an orange alien. Yes, from what we can see, it seems that the gray is going out of fashion. The usual routine is the same old, I've received it from an anonymous military source, blah, blah, blah. This is the moment she mentions my art, but doesn't stop there. The business was successful. It brought in money and another life would come up. So he links this.
A doctor in 1947 said that the lenses of the eyes of the entities were very solid, dark, and opaque, like the ones in this photo.
It's an actual photograph of an orange gray, right? Guys, you see this? It's an actual photograph.
And they might actually be able to detect waves or particles beyond the visual spectrum of light.
100%.
Perhaps onto the full range of the electromagnetic spectrum, or even more.
Even more.
Those lenses were a two-piece set of dark, black elliptical eyepieces as thin as skin, meaning what they measured at Wright Patterson.
Okay, we don't play much more of this, but you get the idea. She's putting it out. There's more. By the way, I'm going to link this blog post down in the description. You can go check it out yourself if you want to watch the whole Moulton Howe video where she breaks it down in even more detail. Please go ahead and do that. However, interesting is that Linda Moulton Howe never sent me a single line asking anything whatsoever. She probably didn't find it necessary in her investigation. Again, guys, I found this blog by reverse searching this image, like one of these images on Twitter, in 2 seconds. Bro, in 2 seconds. You drag that image into Google Images, it gives you the link to this blog, breaks everything down. And Linda Moulton Howe, I mean, you gotta ask yourself, I don't want to put words in her mouth, right? But you gotta ask yourself, did she not want to do this? Did she do it and she didn't want to mention it? Like, what's going on here? right? Is she just running with the story because it's a good story? I don't know, man. It puts a lot of stuff into question, in my personal opinion, but that's just me. I clicked on the live link and explained that they were fictional pieces of art, but either my message got lost among the thousands or someone from the production team deleted it. I wanted to believe that it was because they thought I was some kind of troll. Okay, so he explained it, I don't know, in the comments or something probably, and it didn't get heard. You know how it is. People want to believe. I want to believe. Who's this guy claiming that it's fake and that he actually created it? Let's delete that comment. I'm not saying they deleted it, but they ignored it. Okay, maybe they just didn't read it. We don't know what's the story behind it, but you know. At this point, several people started saying that the alien was 3D, and she seemed confused by this, but instead of admitting that she was wrong, she simply claimed that the most obvious thing, that I was being paid by the CIA. Okay, so the guy who claims that it's 3D and that he created it, CIA, bro. Okay, misinformation agent. To be honest, I get these comments all the time. People comment under my videos, bro, you CIA misinformation agent, you're being paid by government agencies to do these videos. It's like, I wish I would be paid. I'm not paid at all. Then she used a highly scientific verification method to corroborate the claim. She called a psychic to attest to the claim. This guy. Bro. Oh God, I love the field of UFOs. It's the best thing in the world. The psychic used his power of remote viewing. He probably couldn't be there, right? I mean, he works remotely. He remote views anyway, so even he's on site. It doesn't really matter. He remote viewed it and pointed out that the alien in my drawing is real and that it was shot down in a UFO crash brought down by lasers mounted in a forest in the Amazon on the border of Brazil and Peru. Okay, that's what he remote viewed, and that this alien was even one of the soldiers of the ship that was composed of a mixed crew of Nordic aliens and orange greys. Homie did his research, okay? He's like, yeah, it's the Nordics and stuff. He looked, he's like, Billy Meyer. Who's this Billy Meyer guy? The Nordics. This alien was really in an underground part of a military base. That's all CIA stuff there. Okay, that's badly translated, but I guess it makes sense in Portuguese. And that was enough for the famous researcher, recognized worldwide, to make her decision. The problem is that these images can be traced back to my blog as being where they actually appeared in 2008. Ooh, what a mystery, right? So it's on his blog. You can go check it out. And that's when the hypothesis arises. At the time, I was releasing these real materials in the middle of my story because, after all, I'm paid by the CIA. So who cares? So it's like, everyone's grasping at straws, right? They're like, yeah, okay, he admits this, right? And it can be traced to his blog, but I've got this psychic and he claims it's real and I choose to believe the psychic, okay? This is a free country. According to Steve Cambion, Linda said she now owns the rights to these images provided to her by the anonymous military source. She's not only denying the truth that's right in front of her, she also claims, basically claims that the dude is a CIA misinformation agent, and then she claims that his artwork is actually owned by her now. Bro, I mean, look, this is just a blog post. This is this guy who created this writing it. I can't verify exactly whether she claimed that she now owns the rights to these images, but it's like, why would he make that up? It's up in the air whether all this is true, but it's funny as hell, bro. Linda was so convinced of this truth, she confirmed by the psychic and her secret source in Wright Patterson that she went on radio, a show, to defame me, claiming that I was lying about having done the art. And of course, the icing on the cake is the claim that no artist in Brazil can have a crane like the one in the photo. So again, she posts like her little, or he posts like little outtakes, and they're all time-stamped, okay? Like if you check it out, you can go check out this video yourself. I'm not going to play it here now, but these are basically the parts where she makes these claims, like no artist in Brazil can have a crane like this. So then he posts the actual images, and these are slightly more high-res than the ones on Twitter, so it's nice that he shares them. I guess they're the original. He still has. Well, for starters, it's not a crane. It's an overhead crane. Note that this would be very unlikely in a US military base or the Pentagon, and the Brazilian DNA is right there next to our Minabla mineral water. Where is it? Where's the Minabla mineral water? It might come later. Purposefully positioned because, as Chaplin says, all my movements are coldly calculated. He put that water in the picture to mislead people, dude, okay? It's all calculated. It's like a 6-layer deep conspiracy theory of the CIA to mislead people. So they went to Brazil, bought a bottle of this water just to place it in this picture, which has actually been taken in the United States. It all makes sense, bro. Well, how did I manage to do this? Him, you know, asking this question, like, how did he get these photos with the crane and all that, right? Because they're clearly real. The object looks fake, but these images are real. This is not CGI. So he says, basically, just go to any industrial facility, in this case, an oil and gas research center, and take pictures. Then model a UFO, render it with a scan line in 3ds Max 8, and take a picture of the screen. The end. Note that all the pictures are photographed off a screen. They are never the original pictures. And even the image that Linda Moulton Howe shared in her clip, like this one, you can see the frame of the screen here on the left side. So she never obtained the original images. She also only has these photos that were taken off screens. All photos are taken off screens. Here are some of the Area 51 pictures that caused quite a stir. She curiously appears to have cropped the photos herself, taking out the bottle of Minalba. And here are all the images. And I mean, dude, this looks fake as hell, bro. This looks so bad. You know, he's a CGI artist. I mean, it was 2008. In all fairness, we weren't as far then as we are now with 3D software. But bruv, this is clearly CGI. If you know anything about CGI, the people are real, but this has been like shopped to high heavens over it. So here's the bottle, okay? And look how they even pushed it like slightly behind the screen to hide what it is, to obfuscate it even more. They're trying to hide the truth and mislead us, okay, with these hidden clues in the picture everywhere. I love this so much, dude. I love this so much. So this is also interesting, right? The picture of the hand, and it was kind of teased earlier in the Twitter post itself. This particular photo has been causing a stir. At the time, I wanted to show some details, and I searched the internet for photos of corpses. Now what was that noise? Wait, is my room haunted? You heard this, right? That's not just me. This Bing noise? Was that just in my head? I'm terrified right now. Has the CIA caught up to me? Has Linda Moulton Howe found me? So he Googled photos of corpses. At that time, the internet had not yet been sanitized by Google's aggressive policies. And these things with dead people, corpses, you gotta read this yourself. I can't read this in the video. Google will shut me down. So just images of bodies, okay, had not been erased from the internet as it is the case today. This photo was of a unalive woman's hand, which I simply downloaded from Google and stretched out her fingers in Photoshop. I know, it's crude. But my aunt still believes it to this day. And by aunt, he means Linda Moulton Howe. I'm not sure Linda Moulton Howe believes it, okay? She just knows there's money in it. That's my theory, okay? Allegedly, look, that's just me interpreting what's going on here. What about the alien head? What proof would I have that it didn't come from Wright Patterson, right? What evidence do you actually have? Well, for one, here's the original image. Where did he get that from? I couldn't find that anywhere else. This has not been presented by Linda Moulton Howe. He has got the original image that's on the screen without the screen. And he can also remove part of the body because it's CGI. Okay, it's not real. Fortunately, some people out there, like Steve Cambion, saw that it wasn't a very cool thing that I was being massacred by questions and interest, deliberately misinformation, and made videos giving me the opportunity to explain everything. So here's a little interview by the Truth Seekers, okay, another debunking channel. I appreciate this guy as well. Follow him, you know, give him a follow. Check out this interview. It's interesting. It's with the man himself, Phillipe Kling David. Kling David. I don't know how to pronounce his name properly, but check it out. So it is obviously in Portuguese, and he talks a little bit about where he comes from and that he studied psychology, and then he got into 3D art, and he's doing all this, and he works in special effects, all that. So he breaks down the story. To be honest with you, I haven't seen the whole video. I didn't watch the whole thing, but he goes into quite a bit of detail around how it was created and the story beyond this blog. But it doesn't matter, he continues. She was confronted by people with these images and keeps saying that I'm from the CIA. So that's basically it. Thousands of people believing that I'm an international disinformation agent. Live streams with financial gains of thousands of dollars, and me sucking my thumb and being called a fraudster, a liar, a desecrator of photos and of bodies, and who knows what else. So that's it. We earn little, but we have fun. If only the CIA would send me my share of the loot right away. I can only agree to that as well. Where's my paycheck? Okay, all this misinformation. I mean, I am clearly also a CIA misinformation agent. And now I'm part of this story as well. But let me tell you, I love it. What a great story behind a bunch of pictures. So while UFO Twitter is still losing its mind, you know better now. You know what it is. You know the true story. If you enjoyed this video, then please smash the like button underneath. Show me some love. I would appreciate that. I keep hearing this binging sound. I don't know what's going on. Is that coming from outside? I will investigate that now, okay? You can see the next mystery is awaiting me. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash like button, subscribe, join our Discord. Okay, great community over there. We can discuss anything UFO, paranormal, ghost, whatever it is. Soon, I'm going to visit a jail, a haunted jail here in the UK. So that's going to come up on the channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button right underneath. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you. I love you. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye.